Hi, I'm TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast, and I ask that you like, share, and comment on this video. Thanks for watching. All I gotta say is, who dat? Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, and yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Really do appreciate your time. Hope everyone had a great weekend. I hope everybody was safe this past weekend. I had a pretty interesting weekend, man. Paxton ended up starting a swim class again, so I had to take him to swim class. It's always fun and exciting, like to see him. Like last year, when he took swim class, he didn't want to jump in the water. Now it seems like that's his favorite thing to do. But it's fun just watching him learn how to swim and improve every single time. Also, shouts out to my in-laws who came into town. Shouts out to Alan, his wife Amanda, and their two daughters. They came through and kind of chopped it up a little bit. Did some yard work, and some rain caught me. And to be honest with you, Who Dat Nation, I hate to start off on such a sour note here, but as individuals file in, I just had to talk about this. A lot of the things that I did over the weekend was to take my mind off what took place in Rolling Fork, Mississippi. For those that live around that area, probably heard on the news. Rolling Fork, Mississippi was affected by a devastating, and I do mean devastating, tornado that came through that town and left about 90% of that town without homes. Businesses were destroyed. And anybody that knows me, if you've been on the State of the Saints podcast, rocking with it for quite some time, you already know, before I came to South Carolina, I actually not lived, but I worked in Rolling Fork, Mississippi. I worked there for 4 years as a retail store manager. And because of the job that I did there, I was allowed to come to South Carolina to take over a store here. So if it wasn't for me working in that town, I wouldn't have been here. And you probably wouldn't even know who I was. I probably wouldn't have been a host of the State of the Saints podcast, because by coming here, a lot of things fell into place to allow me to be able to do the things that I'm doing right now. I'm saying that to say this, man. The State of the Saints podcast, we're raising money right now. We're raising money right now for the city of Rolling Fork. Anybody that donates to the show, I appreciate it. I really do. But I would ask that the donations that you have going forward go towards the State of the Saints podcast, Rolling Fork Relief Fund. I have the link that is located in the chat at the top of the show. If you want to donate, I don't care if it's $1, $2, I don't care. Like, we're just trying to raise money to try to send, some things down there to the city of Rolling Fork. So once again, like I said, I appreciate the donations that come here to the show, but I rather that go towards that cause. Shouts out to the people of Rolling Fork. Going to continue to lift those people up in prayer. And, it just so unfortunate, actually, one of the individuals that I used to work with, unfortunately, lost her life in a tornado. Miss Wanda Early. I worked with her for 4 years. She worked at the local Family Dollar. And around the time they were closing up, the tornado came through and she perished, because of the tornado. So been a rough weekend, but we're going to continue to support the city of Rolling Fork, and we're going to continue to lift them up in prayer. But on that note, I guess we're going to shift gears to what's going on with the New Orleans Saints. The topic of conversation today is about the Saints' grade. This New Orleans Saints, I mean, they got a C here based on their free agent acquisitions, right? This is according to Pro Football Focus. They gave the Atlanta Falcons a B, the Carolina Panthers a B, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a B, but they gave the Saints a C. And, you know, since I saw this over the last, I've seen this maybe 2 days ago. I've seen this. And I honestly thought this was super hilarious, right? I'm pretty sure you probably felt the same way. You probably felt that this was super hilarious, right? Because there's no way, if you follow the New Orleans Saints, there's no way in the world that you can follow the New Orleans Saints and really honestly believe that the New Orleans Saints deserve a C. You can make an argument that the Saints deserve an A for their offseason acquisitions. For example, the New Orleans Saints needed a starting quarterback. They've needed a starting quarterback for the last couple of years. Well, let me take that back. A quarterback that the organization felt comfortable with consistently, right? And they got that in Derek Carr, whether you want to agree with it or not. They got Derek Carr. They went out there and got a guy that has proven that he can make some things happen and he can do some things, you know, at a high level. Then the Saints needed a running back, right? Because we don't know what's going on with Alvin Kamara. I mean, they still got the court cases going on. It seems like things are going in the right direction in that regard, but you have to believe that a suspension is looming. So what do? They don't go out here and just get some regular Joe Blow. They get the guy who led the NFL in rushing touchdowns in Jamal Williams. Then we all know that the Saints interior has been an issue over the last couple of years, right? We know that the Saints, we as fans have grown accustomed to the New Orleans Saints being able to stop the run and being very stout up front, but it started to kind of lose its luster a little bit, right? So instead of trying to bring back David Onyemata and bring back Shy Tuttle, they instead bring in a super freakish athlete at the interior and Cullen Saunders and bring in a really good run-stuffing defensive tackle in Nathan Shepard, a good guy that you can rotate. Not to mention that you allowed Malcolm Roach to test free agency and him to come back. And if you want to be honest, Malcolm Roach was probably the one that kind of stood out over the last couple of years on that line, because even with David Onyemata, it seemed like he was kind of losing, that spark that he had, right? So you bring in some guys to improve that. And then, you bring in other guys like Lonnie Johnson Jr., a guy that's a really good box safety / nickel corner. You bring in Jonathan Abram, a guy that's a really good box safety, not really good in coverage. Reminds me a lot of Roman Harper, by the way, but still, nevertheless, pretty decent dude. I mean, so my thing is, how in the world can you give a team like this a C? And this is one of the reasons why I feel, and when people say, let me just say this, when people, as Saints fans, when we say like, man, the media seems like they got some type of personal vendetta against the New Orleans Saints, I really feel like they have a personal vendetta against the New Orleans Saints. I don't know if it's just the fact that the New Orleans Saints do things that a lot of these people that follow these big name teams want those big name teams to do. Like, I feel like if the New York Jets or the Giants or the Eagles had somebody in their finance department like Kai Harley, they would be celebrated and revered, right? Every single year. Like, look, Kai Harley does it again. He did such a great job. Look what he did with the numbers, and he made it work. And he put these guys $16 million over the cap. How does he do it? Like, it's amazing, man. They're lucky to have a guy like that. But instead, they look at it as it's a bad quality. It seems like no matter what the Saints do, they try to find a negative in it. Now, I completely understand that the Saints are a few years removed from Sean Payton and Drew Brees, right? And that was the calling card of the New Orleans Saints. It was the coach and the quarterback, right? Legendary status. I get all that. And I also understand that Dennis Allen has something to prove. And Dennis Allen has to prove that he can win consistently. I get all that. But this has nothing to do with what the Saints have acquired. This is equivalent to drafting only the players that you need. So I don't understand how in the world can you give a team a seat when the quarterback was a question by mainstream media, and they fixed that. And don't make it seem like, oh, it was just Derek Carr, because before Derek Carr signed with the Saints, everybody was talking about his Pro Bowl performance and how accurate he was and all these things and how he just is highly touted free agent, and the Jets could really do some things with him, and everybody, all these other teams that's struggling to need a quarterback, they can do some things with him. But then all of a sudden he signs with the Saints, and then you hear on First Take, oh, it's the Saints, it's Derek Carr. But it just seemed like, to me, it's just the fact they just don't like the Saints. I understand that how the NFL works. And for those that may not understand, let me help you. The NFL is built on nostalgia. It's built on nostalgia. That's the main reason why you see them same usual suspects, no matter what the record is, no matter what the situation is, no matter what the quarterback is. They will parade those individuals on primetime television. They will lead off their sports shows talking about them. It's because they feel like that is going to gain them the most traction. The New Orleans Saints, over the last decade and a half, have been the antithesis of the status quo. So when they go out there and they beat the brakes off a New England Patriot team, or they slap around a Dallas Cowboy, or they eliminate the Philadelphia Eagles from playoff contention, they don't like that, because they're a small market team. I'm talking to Saints. They're a small market team that people don't find interesting, right? And they have a reputation and a history of not being very good. But here's the thing. The best thing about history is you can continue to recreate it. You have a large majority of young individuals out here that don't realize that the Saints weren't really that good when I was around their age. Like, the only thing they really know is the Saints being prosperous. But it just seems like to me that these talking heads and some of these people out here that's doing these analytics, they want to keep the Saints within that ain'ts bag on their heads type mentality. But you can be like that. That's fine, whatever. You can say, oh, man, you ain't have fans since 06. You can say, oh, they used to wear bags on their head. But at the same time, okay, whatever, right? There's some validity behind that. But you can also say that the Saints have been one of the best teams in the league for almost a decade and a half. And you also can say that this team has been really, really good this season when it comes to acquiring the right free agents to fill the voids that have been missed when guys leave. So I don't get it. I don't understand it. And at the end of the day, I'm not trying to understand it, because I get what they're trying to do. And it just doesn't make any sense. Like, okay, if you want to give Carolina a B, I'm down with that, right? You go from, picking a little bit, I want to say like around eight or nine. You go from that to getting the number one overall pick. That's pretty good, right? And that way you can solidify yourself and get the quarterback of the future, and maybe the guy that can be able to be a threat to everybody in the South for the next decade and a half. Okay, so I applaud them for that, right? Bringing in some of these other guys like Miles Sanders. Okay, I'm down with that. That makes sense. Even like with the Falcons, you know what I'm saying? They signed a lot of former New Orleans Saints players, but they got Jesse Bates, which is a really good member of your secondary. I mean, they got some really good pieces. But if you're going to give the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a B, for what? For Baker Mayfield? I mean, I ain't got nothing against Baker. I want to see this man succeed, but that's not what you that is not a reason to give a team a B. Signing back linebackers and wide receivers and stuff like that, like that's to me, how is that warranted a B? They still have issues at quarterback. You still don't really know what you have in a running back. I mean, you had some decent running back play, but there's still some unanswered questions. So how is it that you can get those team a B, but then the Saints get exactly what they need and you give them a C? Somebody try to make that make sense to me. I really don't know. I really just don't know. But let me go ahead and read some of your comments. I ask that you hit the like button if you're here. Hit the like button if you enjoy the State of the Saints podcast. Let's see. Tampa lost their best quarterback, a bunch of starters, and didn't make any moves but signed Baker. The grade was clearly based on feelings. I don't know if it was the energy that was taking place because of the whole Nick Wright situation. Nick Wright is a member of mainstream media, and when he tweets and he says something, it does gain traction. So I don't know if that was just kind of, mainstream taking a shot at Saints fans who are very, very vocal. And I'm not saying the Saints are the most vocal fans on social media, but if we have a problem with somebody or something, we will let you know, right? And the Saints fans, we as Saints fans have a little bit of that underdog mentality, that little chip on shoulder, if you will, right? So when things we feel like are unjustified claims, unjustified stats, unjustified dialogue about the team, like we say things about it, and maybe they feel some type of way about it. I don't know, but you cannot tell me that the Saints deserve a C when the Saints acquired. Like let me help y'all out with this. The Saints acquired the number one true free agent that was out there in Derek Carr. Derek Carr was the number one true free agent out there. Now, when he went to the Saints, maybe he fell to about 5, 6, or 7 or something like that. But during that time, don't give me that Lamar Jackson stuff. Don't give me all that nonsense right there, because we all knew that Lamar Jackson wasn't going anywhere and Baltimore was going to put a tag on. We knew this, right? So just putting him in a conversation about being a free agent is basically just trying to have some dialogue and maybe, just trying to get some things going, because we know after football season, things kind of die down. Ain't much to talk about. So I'm talking about a real, true, legitimate free agent in Derek Carr. How in the world, like that in itself should gain you a B. I mean, I don't understand it. Even if we did what Carolina did, they'll still give us a failing grade and say there's no way we be winning in the next few years. It's comical at this point. Yeah, I think it is. If the Saints were to move up to that spot, then they probably would be talking about what the Saints have given up for what they done. Like, oh man, they already have issues with the cap and this, that, and the third. They're gonna find some way to spin it, because once again, they want the Saints to fall into this bubble that they are just a bunch of morons. Like, I'm just being real. They just want people to feel like the Saints don't know what they're doing. They try to do it every single year with the contracts. They try to make it sound like, Mickey Loomis, who has been with the Saints for over 20 years. How do you maintain a job for over 20 years and don't know what you're doing? Like, you can't finesse it like that. Not on this level. So it's pretty obvious that they're trying to do something to try to discredit this team, because they want them to fall within that status quo. The Saints in prosperity is not what the NFL wants. It's about ratings. It's about attention. That's what this is about. It's not about that. It's not about, what this team has done. Like, look, it's almost like trying to get into the country club, right? It's kind of like that type of mentality. Yeah, you got a bunch of people that have been, members. They grandparents have been members, great grandparents have been members. So they just kind of get into the country club. And then you have some people that just on the outside, probably just started to become that entrepreneur, just became successful, and they trying to get up in that thing. And now you having a meeting. Nah, I don't know. Maybe they, I don't know if I want to let this guy in. I don't know if I want to let this lady in. I'm not too sure about them. Where did they come from? Like, where are they family? How did they get their fortune? Like, stuff like that, right? That's just the way it is. Like, the Saints have done a really good job at changing the narrative of yesteryear, and it just seems like they will never give them credit for that. Too busy talking about the Cowboys and the Eagles. If you want to be honest, already read that one. It says the New Orleans Saints are 211 and 159 since 2000. That's pretty damn good. Most of them teams haven't won since 2000. That's pretty good. That's some stuff that we know. But once again, the NFL is about narratives. It's about narratives. It's about the days of yesteryear, right? It's about the catch. Where, you know what I'm saying, from Montana to Clark. It's about the immaculate reception. You know what I'm saying? It's about the ghost at the post. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's about the holy roller. You know, like, it's about the Hail Mary from Roger Staubach. Like, it's stuff like that, right? That's what keeps the NFL going, the nostalgia, right? The guy that's talking over the voiceover on NFL films, and most of the teams that you see was the Raiders and the Steelers and the Cowboys. And, like, those were the teams that they want to keep within the confines of NFL royalty. And, those other teams can't really get in there. And especially like teams that, that are considered small market, like the Saints, who most circles consider them like a mom and pop shop, right? You look at the Cowboys, they like, they like, Sam's Club, or, some of these other places that you go to, you have a membership to get in. And then you have like the Saints, who is just your local mom and pop shop, in your local town. And that's the way that they want to keep it. And they don't feel like those teams like the Saints deserve to be in that room. So they're going to make sure that they don't do it. See, it's about the power of influence, folks. People say, man, I don't get influenced by what I see. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. I mean, what we hear and what we see dictates how we move, right? Regardless of how you want to believe that or not, right? I mean, it's just the way that the world works. If you're a fan of the Saints, right, you're going to be focused mostly on the Saints. But outside, let's just say if they talking about the Jaguars or something, like, you going to keep the cliff notes of that, right? But a lot of the things that you learn about the Jaguars are going to be from mainstream media. And those are the things that's going to keep you in the conversations at the barbershop, when you at work with your friends. Oh, man, you ain't got no quarterback, huh? Well, even though they do, I'm just using this for an example. Oh, you ain't got no defensive line, right? Even though they do, I'm just using this for an example. They know that, right? We know what the Saints do. We know that the Saints have been successful. But if you're getting Saints news from mainstream media, which most people do, they're not going to click on the State of Saints podcast or check out Locked On Saints. They're not going to do that. They're going to get it from mainstream media. And when they give them that watered down version of, just news that just seems like is appealing to make it seem like the Saints need to overcome adversity, they're going to take that and run with it. And when you have a conversation with someone that may not like the Saints or may not follow the Saints that much, man, what y'all going to do about the cap? Even though the Saints have been proving that they can do things with the cap for the last 4-5 years, but yet that's what people are going to say. So they do that because they're influenced by mainstream media. TJ, the media, for the most part, chooses the narrative most people believe. They prop up the teams and players that they want to have the league attention. Exactly. They prop up the star players that they want. I mean, to give those players credit, like Mahomes, he deserves to be talked about. Lamar Jackson deserves to be talked about, right? You got guys like that. They deserve to be talked about. So I don't want to take that away from them. But we also know when you elevate certain guys, yes, but they also devalue other guys, right? Like they devalue guys for our viewing pleasure as well. And they devalue teams for our viewing pleasure as well also. So there you go. I get the Panthers, but the Bucks, come on, man. I don't understand the Bucks either. Like, I could make an argument, to be real. I ain't even trying to be a hate. I can make an argument that the Carolina Panthers deserve a hate. I can do that. But the Bucks deserving a B. Like, what kind of scale are y'all grading this on? What kind of scale are y'all really grading this on? I have absolutely no idea. Hit that like button and subscribe to the SOTS. Keen Arthur, I appreciate that. Like, if you're new, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. 128 in the chat, only 4 likes. Come on, get them likes up, family. Yeah, if you like the show, please hit the like button. I appreciate that. I will hope that comment happened maybe 10 minutes ago. I hope that we have more likes than that. They want the Saints to be the Aints of old, pretty much. TJ, the media is full of hot garbage. You know how this train goes when it comes to the Saints. Yeah, pretty much. They're going, like I said, they're going to continue to discredit them. But, you know, it's up to the Saints to try to change their narrative. All these things about grades and evaluations, all that stuff is, you know, pretty much just fodder, if you want to be honest, like dialogue, talk. It's up to the New Orleans Saints to prove those people wrong. Like, look, you don't win games based on those type of grades, and you don't, you know, execute based on what they talking about, right? Those things, to be honest, are for people like myself to be able to have shows and be able to talk about it and discuss it. But I just know that you're not going to win like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't win no games like that. The Saints have to execute. And if we see what they are doing right now, if it's any indication of what the season would be, they're going in the right direction. But they have to capitalize. The Saints deserve an A+ for being able to get the best quarterback in the NFC without losing any draft picks. I agree with that. I mean, I won't even make an argument about them deserving an A. I mean, I feel like if I was to say that, then that's probably just me being a homer. Like, if I evaluate, like, they fill holes. Don't get me wrong. They filled the holes that needed to be filled with the interior linemen. You know, getting some guys in the secondary, getting Derek Carr, but saying A+, I don't know about that. I'm not sure about the whole A+ thing, but they definitely deserve like a B. You know, like a C is like, you know, like you just did the bare minimum, like average. Like, there's nothing about a lot of these guys that have come in that are average. Like Derek Carr, you know, like I said, before he signed with the Saints, everybody was talking about how great he was and how he can be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Now, all of a sudden, he with the Saints. Now, they don't know no more, I guess. And then you have Jamal Williams, like, oh, you know what I'm saying? He's such a really good running back. He had 17 touchdowns. But now it's like, oh, those 17 touchdowns happened at the goal line. You know, like if he would have signed with the Cowboys, then it would have been like, yes, 17 touchdowns. They wouldn't have put like no type of justification. Well, I don't say justification, but no type of, they wouldn't put no story behind that, right? They wouldn't minimize it. They'll amplify it. Oh, he had 17 touchdowns. But you signed with the Saints, he had 17 touchdowns. The majority of them was at the goal line. You know, so it just seemed like they try to go out the way to try to make certain fan bases feel justified and good about what they're doing. And then, you know, like, I feel like at this particular point, I think if the Saints would have been able to get Lamar Jackson, they would have found a way to make it seem like that was a bad idea. To be honest, the media were not as bad before we won the Super Bowl. After that, shaking my head, it was free game on dissing the Saints. We went against the grain and have been hated since. Yeah, I mean, that's just the thing. Like I said, it's the whole country club example that I use, right? You have the same people in the country club, right? But then all of a sudden, like, you get this person that's trying to get in here, you know, and nobody really know that much about them. You know, they kind of reluctant to put them in there. They're in there, but, you know, they try to do everything they can to discredit them to keep them, you know, out of that circle within that country club. And that's exactly what they trying to do with the Saints. And, you know, the reason why, you know, things started to change after the Super Bowl because they ain't have no reason to talk about it. They was able to put like little, you know, Hanna-Barbera type sound effects like that you'll hear on the Flintstones and Scooby-Doo and all that kind of stuff when they talking about the Saints, you know, to make people laugh. But when the Saints out there competing and your favorite team that you've been propping up all year long, they put, you know what I'm saying, they in a dogfight with the Saints, right? You know, the team that's in the Super Bowl beat, you know what I'm saying, losing to the Saints. Like, you can say Jalen Hurts wasn't playing, but still the Eagles. You know, like, it's hard for somebody to sit up here and just say, oh, they just don't belong. You know? So regardless of how you want to put it. And, you know, I always look at it this way. When people say, oh man, before '06, they didn't have Saints fans. Do people understand like '06 has almost been 20 years ago? That was what, 17 years ago? So 17 years is a long time if you think about it. But people don't think about like since '06, like that is a long time, right? That's 17 years. So if a Saints fan became a Saints fan 17 years ago, that's a lot of time. That is a long time to be a fan of a team. If you say, oh man, you've been a Patriot fan since 2000, that's 23 years ago. That's a long time. So I look, if people say you've been a fan since '06, and that's like, do people understand? Like, that means you have to consistently be a fan for over 20 years. That's a long time. For you not to, to jump off the bandwagon, to quit, that's a long time. So I don't understand. Like, I think when people like look at it like 2006, like that's almost 20 years that you've been a Saints fan. Now, some people have been Saints fans longer than that, right? But being a Saints fan since 2006, that ain't a bad thing. That is not a bad thing. That's almost 20 years of being a fan. And then on top of that, like, let's just call a spade, right? Most of the time, the teams that you love, the teams that you admire, the teams that you value, they had to make you believe in them, right? Yeah, they did. Like, you talk about the Golden State Warriors, like if you're an NBA fan, right? Oh, I like the Golden State Warriors. Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? You like the Golden State Warriors, what? Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green was there, right? But where you was at with Tim Hardaway, Chris Mullin, and Latrell Sprewell, were you fans then, right? I'll make it even more clear. Were you a fan when Monte Ellis was there? You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to, teams have to give you something to believe in. Now, you have some fans that have been diehards, but some people just feel like you have to like prove something to them. I don't feel bad, or you know what I'm saying, when people say that. Like when they say I've been a fan since 2006, that's a long time. Now, if you've been a fan since 2006 and your energy is kind of wavering, like, man, you suck, I'm done, then I'll be like, man, you question your fandom here. But if you've been a fan since 2006 and you consistently been a fan and you just sitting up here like really excited about the team and really frustrated because you're so passionate, I ain't got no problem with it. I ain't got no problem with that. But when you jumping off the bandwagon every 5 minutes and, I only see you when the Saints doing good, then I'm gonna be like, man, what's going on here? Something ain't right. So, let's see, the goal line is the hardest place to score, though. Yeah, it is. It is. But, man, look, it's about the language and the delivery of how you're saying these things, if it makes any sense, right? Like let me put it to you like this, Cartel. Let me use two examples here, right? And I'm talking about Jamal Williams scoring from the goal line. Jamal Williams, former Detroit Lion, the guy who led the NFL in rushing touchdowns, man, he had 17 touchdowns in 2022, 17 at the goal line. That is a tough place to score from the goal line. He has been a battering ram for I don't know how long. All right. Don't that get you excited? I mean, I'm kind of being, I ain't really as animated, but you get what I'm saying, right? It's the energy. Like 17 touchdowns. This guy scored in 2022. He was a goal line threat. Versus the Saints on Jamal Williams. Yeah, a decent back, doesn't really have the speed as some of those top tier guys. He's a one-cut back. He scored 17 touchdowns, but most of them were at the goal line. Don't that sound like a knock? Even though, it's the delivery of it. It's not always about, you can get people excited, right? You can get people excited about a can of tuna if you want to be real. Like, man, like I'm about to, for example, man, I'm about to eat this tuna right here. Man, the tuna, man, Star-Kissed tuna is some of the best tuna that you're ever going to eat. Man, all you have to do is just chop up some eggs up in that thing, get some mayonnaise, stir that thing in the pot. Ooh, get some Ritz crackers on that thing, boy. That's some good eating right there. Versus Star-Kissed tuna, Man, come on, man. Like, it must ain't got nothing else to eat up in there, huh? Man, all they got is StarKist tuna. Man, when the last time I ate some StarKist tuna? I didn't even know they still made StarKist tuna. But I eat it, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it ain't bad, you know, like I can eat it. Right? I mean, it's two different ways that you can present things. And you know, being in broadcasting, being on a television personality, there's a method to the madness, you know, that can get you excited about the situation or, you know, have you upset and being mad, you know, about the situation. Like, you know, some people, you know, I probably said that about StarKist, like, man, I'm about to eat me some tuna real quick. And then other people like, man, I don't want no tuna, man. You right, TJ, you know, like we eat tuna like that. But I'm just saying it's about the presentation. There's a way that you can get people excited about it. And there's also a way that you can have people just thinking like it's the dumbest decision I've ever seen or heard in my life. Let's see. Hey, TJ, I don't care what these fake narrative media say about the team. To get an average grade on them offense, defense, and special teams, I hope New Orleans is going to be a good, perfect grade average in next season. If Dennis Allen going to be proud to them players with a grade average, and Derek Carr is a good average quarterback, I don't understand why they try to bash the team like with poor or fair grades. That's blasphemy. Well, look, I told you, it's a narrative. It's a narrative that goes on here, man. It's a narrative, and it's an art. You know, like you're trying to make, like, man, these television stations, these networks, they look at numbers, right? They look at numbers, they look at analytics, they look at segments of what they talked about. And if a segment seems like it has an uptick, they're going to continue to use that, right? Because it's all about keeping eyes on the product. You keep eyes on the product. When they go to commercial break, you know, they can sell you different things and you know, get the, you know, the advertisers, have them happy. That's what it's about. So whatever they try to do, whatever they can do to try to keep you engaged, they're going to do it. And that includes, you know, bashing your team. Like they follow social media just like you and me. So if they see a bunch of Saints fans, you know, complaining or being upset about some situation that the mainstream media said about them, guess what? Their segments are going to be about minimizing the Saints' potential because they know it's going to get under your skin, if that makes any sense. That's just how it works. It's television, folks. That's entertainment. I get what you're saying, TJ. That's crazy. You're right. The delivery is everything. That take on StarKist, I'm definitely about to go pick up some tuna today. Like, yeah, man, with Cartel, I mean, that's kind of what it's like, man. Like, it's all about the presentation. You know, you have, like, if you can get people excited about the most minimal thing. And you can also have people discouraged about the greatest thing, right? It's just how it works, man. It's all about energy. And they know that they teach that, you know. I want to be optimistic about the team. When you look at who the coach is, it all changes. Charles, I'm going to just say this, okay? Dennis Allen is the head coach of New Orleans Saints. He's not going anywhere. So we want the Saints to live up to their real, true potential. So we got to get behind the guy. You know, like, I was very upset, as many people know, about how the season was going last year. And I was frustrated at Dennis Allen. And yes, I did, you know, felt like everybody else when I felt like he wasn't the answer. But it seemed like the New Orleans Saints are really, truly behind this guy, and they're giving him the opportunity to build the team the way that he wants to build it. The team's success is based on what Dennis Allen can bring to the table. We don't want to see the Saints being one of the worst teams in the league. We want to see them as a playoff team. So he has my full support. Like, as long as he's a member of the New Orleans Saints as a head coach, he has my support. Like, I just feel like being pessimistic about this situation, about being pessimistic about something that has yet to be seen, like, you just basically just kind of ruining the experience for you. You know, like, it's almost like going to a party and just saying, man, I know I ain't gonna have no fun. You know, like, well, you already just destroyed the possibility of you having fun before you hit the door. I rather just look at this team as, man, look, last year was last year. Let's just ball it up, throw it in the trash, forget it. I won't say forget it exists. We want to remember it exists because you want something to build on, but you want to embark on a new future a positive future. And hopefully that the Saints will be able to win some football games and have everybody excited. So that's the way I'm looking at it. I'm no longer just sitting up here just talking about Dennis Allen. We ain't got no hope. I mean, I want this team to win. And regardless of who the coach is, I want to see this team win. So, I mean, he got my support as long as he's a member of the Saints team and he's the coach. I know we talking Saints to make a point. What grade they gave Denver? You know what? I don't know. I don't know what grade they gave Denver, and I'm not too sure about that. I only seen that. Of course, it just came across my timeline. Thought it would be interesting to talk about because it was referring to the NFC South teams. I keep tuna out of my house now. My cat might eat it and run me out the house when he go potty. Well, look, I like myself a good can of tuna. Ain't nothing wrong with tuna, man. We all know it's easy. A B+ grade for the Saints. Dennis Allen is decent in the offseason. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, I mean, look, the Saints had an issue with recruiting guys and bringing guys in. It seemed like they would get these guys in the building, but they couldn't pull the trigger. I have to say, like, Dennis Allen has done a really good job at recruiting guys this offseason. Now it's like when a guy comes in, I'm expecting for them to sign. Like even with Foster Monroe, like he was going to sign with the Saints. But they did that physical and everything like that, and turns out he had Hodgkin's lymphoma, praying for the brother once again, but he was going to join the Saints. So they're doing a really good job at recruiting these guys, and also they're also doing their due diligence when it comes to the draft. Like they're talking and having conversations and setting up dinners with a lot of these players out here, man, and they can go in so many different directions. So they have really been working extremely hard to try to make this a Dennis Allen team and make us kind of, understand that they're trying to remove themselves away from the whole Sean Payton experience, which was a good experience more times than not. But they want you to understand and acknowledge Dennis Allen as the head coach of the team and this being his team. And I think it's the best thing for him. I think by him adding Derek Carr and bringing in some of these guys from, the offseason and bringing in his coaches, I think that, they're setting a tone. So I'm not mad at that. Recency bias is the only reason the Bucs got the good grade. Never mind the fact that they lost more than we have this offseason. But in other news, Brett Favre still took that buddy. Yeah, pretty much, man. And nobody heard anything about that. Nobody's saying anything about that. That's another story for another day. It also depends on who you're talking to. You can't go to a millionaire trying to hype up tuna, but go to a homeless person. That tuna would be a full course meal, some filet mignon. Not exactly. Not in the way that you pitch it to him. I mean, if you pitch it to him the right way, he might get excited about some tuna. I mean, that's just the way that it works. Like you have, like it's about the energy and the confidence that you have behind what you're saying. Like a lot of us, sometimes we don't even realize that we buy into the confidence that a person says. That's why a lot of people, they get upset at me at times, when I say certain things. It's probably because the way that I deliver it and the confidence that I have behind it. That's just the way that it is. So it's mostly about the confidence that you have and you believe in what you're saying. I mean, that's with anything. Like if you see a beautiful woman, like you trying to, get to know her, get a phone number or something like that. Like you got looking down at the flow, looking up in the air. But if you come, walk up to her, looking confident, more than likely, if nothing really going on life, that will prohibit you from getting the number, you'll get it. And same way with some guys, right? I mean, that's just the way that it works. So confidence is everything. And when you're delivering words and you're delivering, phrases and you throw a few stats up in there that nobody gonna check, I mean, got yourself a hot take, my friend. TJ, did you notice that they put these narratives out there about small market teams as if they're incompetent And when they exceed expectations, they move the goalposts. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, but that's just the way that it goes. Like, here's the thing. We all know that we want to hear our teams talked about, right? We want that. But if you minimize and you discredit teams more consistently, then it's going to be like, it's just a waste of time to talk about them, right? That's just how it works. So if you can talk about the Saints cap situation and talk about how they got an incompetent coach in Dennis Allen, why am I wasting? It's like, why am I wasting my time talking about this team? They're not good. They ain't make the playoff. Why am I talking about them? So it gives the casual fan justification to not want to hear about the Saints or not want to hear about Jacksonville. But it's just amazing to me how you have the Giants who have fell short. They made it to the playoff last year, but they were falling short. Cowboys, for the most part, continue to fall short. No matter how many games they win, double digit or not, they fall short. But they continue to start their shows talking about them, right? Why? Because they, for some apparent reason, can get people feeling as if this year is going to be their year to win it all. How? Right? Shouldn't everybody kind of be on an equal playing field? Like, if it's a brand new season, everybody has a chance to win the Super Bowl. I don't care how bad your team was last year. I don't care how good your team was last year. Everybody has an opportunity to win the big game. But if you minimize the small market teams and make it seem like this is a waste of time for them to talk about them, then nobody ain't going to want to hear about it. And, of course, they're going to say, well, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about Howie Roseman and how he, what he doing with Philly, or Jerry Jones, what he doing with the Cowboys, Like, it's just amazing to me. Like, it's just amazing how they do those things. But that's just the way that it works. TJ can't wait to witness Williams on the running back scene. Dude act like he ready to tear up the field. Well, that's what you want. You want somebody with that type of energy. You want somebody with that type of enthusiasm. I like them. I like them a lot. TJ, you're right. So I'm going to go with my sales pitch to Miss Barber. Miss Barber, if you feed your cat some Sunkist tuna, I promise you your house will smell like lavender. We never change formula. Yeah, I mean, look, if a person is willing and open, I gotta put that out there, right? Can't just be like you walk up to somebody and just talk about some tuna or something like that. They gotta have an interest in what you're talking about. Like, the majority of the people that's watching this show right now is because you're a Saints fan, right? So me talking about this team is appealing to you because, you got an emotional investment in the team. But if I'm not going to roll to a Jaguar, podcast and just be talking about Saints galore, you know what I'm saying? People are like, man, what you talking about here? So you kind of lose them. You got to make sure when you pitching to somebody, like, you have their undivided attention and they're willing to have this level of openness about it. And of course, even if they don't have this level of openness, they probably going to be so outraged that they still end up, looking in like, man, what are you talking about, man? Let me share what you just said. I can't believe what I just heard. Let's see. I'm starting a new podcast, State of the Stinks. Tune in, yo. I'll be ripping them. State of the Stinks. That might hit. Not in the right way though. Might hit a little different than some of these other ones. Yellow, I'll try that. He loves tuna. Let's see. It's funny you mentioned that because I think that the Saints as a fan base are probably one of the very few that has other teams constantly in our mentions, minding our business and not their own. Hey, look, man, I ain't got no problem with that, okay? As a content creator, as a sport broadcaster, as a broadcaster in general, I ain't got no problem with it. I don't. Like, I welcome anybody that wants to come on the State of the Saints podcast that want to comment in the group. I ain't got no problem with it. Like, I love sports, right? I follow all teams. Like, I know about what's going on with several teams in the NFL because I'm so passionate and I love it. And if they want to come here, and rep their team, I ain't got no problem with that, man. I don't, because I never look. I made the State of the Saints podcast for the Saints fans to have a engaging experience, but I just didn't make it strictly just for everybody just fall in. I mean, I did it for sports fans too. And if a sports fan of another team come in and want to talk about how I feel about a certain situation, I'm down with it. I'm if that should never be your MO, right? You should always be able and be willing to engage with other fans of other teams. Like, I mean, I don't care what team you rocking. I don't care if it's like one of our bitter rivals. I'm still gonna, talk to you about the team. Might, crack a few jokes or whatever like that. But I have a lot of respect for people. I mean, having love and adulation for a team, it's not easy at times. So if you can come in and rep a team where the majority of the people that's in here, about 95, I say about 99%, I'll give 99%, or fans of your rival, like, God bless you. TJ, is it a foregone conclusion that AK will be suspended? If so, how long do you think the suspension will last? I don't know if it's a foregone conclusion just yet. I won't know until, we find out. I mean, we thought he was going to be suspended last year and he didn't. So we'll see. But, if they settle it out in court, they just say, he don't get no time or nothing like that, and they just settle it out. I don't think he's gonna get no time. I think it probably would be like a Marcus May situation where if they drop the charge. Let's just say, for example, if AK's lawyer goes to this guy's lawyer and be like, okay, we'll settle up for this amount of money if you throw this case out. Well, if he says okay and he gets money and they throw the case out, you can't suspend him for that, right? So there's some ways around it. But if he was to get convicted, I think he will get suspended. Have your opinions about your team and other teams. Just keep it respectful. Yeah, that's all I'm saying, man. Like, people that be coming in, guns are blazing, cussing this, that, like, nah, I don't roll like that. I don't like that type of energy. I don't. Like, when people like bring that type of energy, that's just something that I don't want, And I pride myself on that. I like a show that's family friendly where a kid that's 19 years old can watch this show from start to finish. Or older person, you know what I'm saying, that probably don't want to hear all that vulgarity. They can watch this show from start to finish. So as long as you keep it respectful, I'm good. But you come up here talking about, F the Saints, y'all ain't ish, all that. Nah, we good on that. The disrespect, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm glad that we got so many really good moderators that keep the show going and keep the show respectful. Because, my thing is, man, I want, I'm not trying to make a show that my mom can't watch. I'm not trying to make a show my grandma can't watch. Like, my grandmother watch this podcast, listen to this podcast all the time. So I'm proud, to say that my grandma can turn on the show and she know that her grandson gonna, give some information. Ain't got to be sitting out here on some Sirius XM type stuff. And people that are in the chat aren't going to be on that either. TJ, I am feeling positive about our team this year. Well, that's a good thing, James. And I feel positive too. Until they prove otherwise, let's see. As long as the other team fan base do not be disrespectful, our team will welcome them in. Yeah, I ain't got no problem with that. I mean, if you want to rep your team and you just saying how many wins the Saints got, like, I don't feel like that's warranted to be kicked out, right? But if you like, man, like I said, using, expletives and stuff like that, I ain't down with that. Derek Drone, thank you very much for $2, says, I'll get more air yards than Derek Carr. Derek Drone, that was a good one right there. Kamara's lawyer thinks he will win his case. Something about what happened before the video, got to wait and see. Well, I'm just saying, I think the best case scenario for that would be for them to throw that case out. Because here's the thing. You can talk about what happened before, but if you don't have any footage about it, how can you prove it? It becomes like that Gwyneth Paltrow thing that's going on right now, which is crazy. I don't know if y'all know, but Gwyneth Paltrow ended up like getting involved in a skiing accident or something like that, got sued, but there's no footage or anything like that. The guy and her bumping into each other, so it's almost on some he said, she said stuff. And when you do that kind of stuff and it goes to court, it's kind of hard for the judge to render that. Like, so for him to avoid suspension, I think they would have to settle that out in court. Only folk from the South have the ability to curse a mug out without using a curse word. Right now, she's watching. Well, shouts out to my grandmother, Miss Maxine Jones, all the way out there in Tallulah. Shouts out to her. Let's see. I'm old school, TJ. I appreciate the cleanliness of the show. Well, that's what we want here. We try to keep it family friendly. We try to keep it entertaining at the same time. Like anybody that says like, oh man, you can't be entertaining without being like explicit, then I would say that you need some work to do on your podcasting ability, because you don't have to, like we have so much fun here, and we have a good time. We don't have to be going out here just doing all type of off the wall stuff to do that either. TJ, this may be an unpopular opinion, but let's be real. Whether guilty or innocent, a public accusation at all is enough to ruin a career. I think nothing should be disclosed until there's a verdict. Yeah, I mean, I look at the situation that's going on with Jonathan Majors right now. Like we're towards the end of the show anyway. But Jonathan Majors, the actor, he played in Ant-Man. He also played in Creed 3 alongside Michael B. Jordan. Guy was like on the uptick of his career, and all of a sudden this past weekend, he got accused of domestic violence. The woman dropped the charges, but of course that doesn't matter, because now you have people coming out talking about these accusations and stuff like that, and all these accusations and all that kind of stuff there. So, it really don't matter. Like once, that idea comes out, then all of a sudden, like, yeah, you did it. It's regardless to what happens, right? Like he can be completely clean of this situation, but he always going to look dirty. And then you have people now that coming out talking about, oh, my experience with Jonathan Majors. And it don't matter if it's real or not, right? The fact is he was taken into custody. Now all of a sudden, like, here come the barrage of things. But I find it very, very hilarious. I'm just gonna keep it a buck. I find it very hilarious that Jonathan Majors can be like, there's no footage, there's nothing out there. It's basically like her word against his, right? And everybody talking about, oh man, this is how terrible this dude is and that. Meanwhile, you got a guy like Dana White, who owns UFC, who's on tape punching his girlfriend in the face, right? Like literally punching his woman in the face. And nobody says absolutely nothing about that. No recant statements could be made about that, because we all seen it with our own two eyes. But I guess it's just amazing what type, amazing what money can do for individuals, right? Jonathan Majors is starting to make money. Dana White makes plenty of it, right? So I don't know. All I know is, man, this dude was on he was on a rise. I still think he on a rise. And this situation happened. So, I mean, you just got to be careful, man. You just got to be careful about the company you keep, the decisions that you make, and sometimes like those decisions that you make, man, they can cost you, because there's always somebody that's trying to they're always trying to make a name off you or trying to make some money off you, right? Oh, I'm going to tell you my story. You want to hear my story? I'll sell it to you for $100,000. Tyrone, thank you very much for the $2. Says shout out to TJ and Jerry and the other Saints fans. Appreciate that, Tyrone. Thank you, man. Did you see the guy face AK and the boys did a job on him? Yeah, I mean, yeah, we seen it. They definitely putting that work on that boy. They definitely stomped the mud hole in that boy and walked it dry. But like I said, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Money talk. Like seriously, money talk. Money keep a lot of people quiet. And I feel like, if they probably go to him and offer him a good bit amount of bread, they might be able to drop the charges, and that might benefit them. Read a few more, then we're going to get up out of here. It says, what are your thoughts on these players going to get up a good above average grade for New Orleans Saints in the next season? What's your thoughts about the new offensive weapons for Derek Carr and offensive line? It's a real Saints outlaw, just like Tupac's song Life of an Outlaw on Machiavelli album. TJ, that's a cheap plug right there, by the way. But anyway, yeah. I understand what you're saying. What are my thoughts on that? Look, I gotta see it. Like I'm not one of those individuals that kind of fall into the trap of, oh, they got this, they got that. I would sound like a Falcon fan. Like seriously, every Falcon podcast I went on, for the exception of my guy You know what I'm saying? One of my boys, Sean. The only podcast, man, we got this, man, we got that, we got this and that. What y'all gonna do with this? What y'all gonna do with that? Like, bruh, calm down, right? You got to put this thing into work. I got to see it happen, right? I'm not one of those people that get all excited. Oh man, we got this, that, and the third, because it kind of just sets yourself up for heartbreak and failure. I need to see this thing on a consistent basis. So, based on what they've done, I would give them a B. You know, I would give them a B based on all off-season acquisitions, who they decide to bring back. And, you know, maybe because here's the thing, folks, the offseason isn't over yet. The offseason is over, even though we know Pro Football Focus ain't thinking like that. The offseason isn't over yet. So you still have the NFL draft, right? And goes to show you how much I love y'all. I'm not going to Kansas City. We're going to do this thing live. I have to do that, you little cheap plug. State of the Saints podcast. We coming back again for the NFL draft live stream. So you make sure that y'all be on the lookout for that. We definitely coming back doing that, man. So, yeah, your boy had opportunity to go to KC. Had to turn it down. Said, man, I'm going to do the podcast here. But anyway, they still got the offseason, right? And you still got to be able to draft guys, right? So, I mean, based on this grade right now, I give them a B. But, you know, let's see what the draft has in store. Let's see. TJ, hate to interject, but there has been a school in Nashville, 2 adults and 3 children killed. The teen female shooter was killed by the police. Man, my goodness. I tell you, man, rough stuff going on in the world right now, man. Rough stuff. That's why you got to continue to stay prayed up, stay positive, man. That's tough. You know, that's tough, man. You know, unfortunately, people lost their lives on today, but we're going to remember those individuals, man, keep them lifted up. And, you know, yeah, it's unfortunate, man, that happened. Yeah, too many of these situations happening like this in schools. I don't, like, honestly, I don't know how you can avoid this. Like, I really don't. I don't know how you can avoid these type of situations happening. I mean, you can beef up security, but, you know, I mean, kids got a way of getting stuff in school. I mean, I don't think it's changed that much since I've been in school, you know, going through metal detectors and all that kind of stuff. People still find ways to get in school. I've seen individuals, not insane, but I've heard like people bring guns to school and how they get them in. Like they'll go through the metal detectors. You know, they have a friend that jumped the fence or something like that, slide that weapon inside the school. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, there's ways around. I don't know how you can avoid it. And I understand, like, in the world that we live in, you know, we always trying to look for who's responsible. Like, we're like, oh, man, blame the parents. Like, you can have, like, the best parents in the world. Sometimes kids just make bad decisions. They just make bad decisions. Sometimes they just do things like, and, you know, I feel bad sometimes because sometimes, man, these parents, like, man, if you working every day trying to grind, trying to take care of your kids, like, you know, some things can slide through the cracks. You know, but it's unfortunate, man, that happened, man. And honestly, I don't see a way that we can improve that. You know, I mean, you just gotta. Well, I do know a way we can improve. We gotta show love for one another. Like we gotta show love for one another. You know, and have an appreciation for that. Let's see. I have more of a cannon arm than Derek Carr, says Derek Tank. Oh man, cheesy dad jokes by Derek Tank. But thank you, man. Thank you very much for the $2. Says this, Jules, you got to change your Facebook settings. Yeah, man. I'm pretty sure I'll get around to that. You know, I was wondering why I can't really see people's names on Facebook. I don't know, but I'll try to change that. I'll work some things around. And finally, it says TJ, they used to happen a lot at Landry and O'Perry Walker before the merge. Yeah, I mean, look, people want to get weapons in school. They get them in school. Like. People want to sit up there and talk about these 8-hour assemblies and about how they going to do this and how they going to change that, yada, 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 yada. Look, I'm just saying, man, there's some things that going to get slide through the cracks. And you know, because the thing about it is, if something like that was to happen, it might be 4-5 years, maybe even longer than that before it happened again. So, of course, people's guard is not going to be up. You know, like, you ain't going to be walking around, like, with your guard up all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, the only people I know that do that is the Indianapolis airport. Indianapolis Airport, they don't play, boy. They serious. They stay with stoic looks in their eyes. I'm like, man, shoot, made me feel like did I have something on me? Like, shoot, but they do a really good job. Shouts out to Indianapolis Airport. I mean, if anything, you're gonna feel safe off in that joint. Tell you that right now. But yeah, it's so sad that these babies' lives with taking mental illness is real, and those with issues are getting these guns. Lord have mercy, praying for those, praying now for the parents. Yeah, I mean, a lot of kids don't know how to cope and deal with different things, man. I always say, before I get up out of here, it's hard for kids these days. It's harder for a kid these days than it is for us. And I'm gonna be real, man, because I don't think we pay attention to that type of stuff. Like when we were in high school, and I'm talking me, I'm 36, and when I was in high school, you get in a fight, you might lose a fight, you might win a fight. People might talk about it for a day or two. If it happened on a Friday, ain't nobody talking about it on Monday. But imagine you get in a fight, you lose, and you know what I'm saying, like the person overpowers you, and everybody pulls out a camera, and they got an opportunity to put your low points to music, put your low points and put sound effects on it, put your low points and rewind it and do it in slow motion, all these different things, and have everybody laughing at you, right? Taking pictures of you in awkward situations, right? That can be shared throughout the entire school, right? And in the entire community. So it's not like, oh, I go home and then everything gonna go away. Well, you know what I'm saying? It's in infamy, right? It's gonna be around there forever. So at the end of the day, I can understand like why these kids can kind of deal with certain situations, you know what I'm saying? When we know how it is, man. Like a breakup is like the worst thing in the world when it happened, right? When you're a kid. Not being popular anymore is like the worst thing that ever can happen to a kid. And I know we like, oh man, it's gonna be okay. We know that now, but as a kid, those things were so important to us. So I can understand that as kids, but that's why, as parents, we got to instill a level of confidence inside of these kids and let them realize that. And that's something that, I try to do with Paxton, and as he gets older, because you got to have these kids' confidence in in what they feel about themselves is going to keep them from doing certain things. So, we got to instill those type of, we got to instill positive reinforcements inside of our kids, because we got to continue to wipe out the negativity that they may face on a consistent basis. So you're not always going to do that sometimes, but you got to continue to try, you got to continue to work towards it. So, it's unfortunate that these kids are dealing with these things, but, you just got to do your best in order to try to keep them on that straight and narrow. Some may slide through the cracks at times, unfortunately, but we can't stop trying. Like, we can't stop trying. But I want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Really do appreciate it. Ask that you hit the subscription button. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Ask that you hit the like button if you enjoy the State of the Saints podcast. Really do appreciate everybody that commented in the chat, made the show what it is. You can follow me on Facebook.com, search The State of the Saints podcast. Also, if you want to follow me on Twitter, and have conversations, you can follow me on Twitter at TJAY Jones 8. I want to acknowledge this. I mentioned this at the top of the show. We're actually raising money for the city of Rolling Fork, Mississippi. Some of you probably know over the weekend, a devastating EF4 tornado came through and completely wiped out the town. 90% of the town was completely destroyed. I worked out in Rolling Fork, Mississippi for 4 years as a store manager before I came to South Carolina. And I made a video and I talked a little bit about that, about if I didn't work in that town, if I didn't manage that store, would I be in the situation that I'm in today, right? I transferred from that store to South Carolina to manage another store out here. And, that's how I was able to find WLGI, found my wife, we had our kid, so I'm forever indebted to that community. And right now, this community really needs some help. So I was asking people, instead of donating to the State of the Saints podcast, there was a link that's available. Let me make sure I pull it up before we get up out of here. there's a link that you can go to. And I don't care. It can be $1. It can be $2. I don't care. We definitely trying to raise money. What I want to do is want to raise enough money at least. I mean, the goal is $5,000, right? But if I can't raise that, definitely want to raise enough money to be able to, deliver for them to get a pallet of water and maybe like some toiletry items that can be sent there. So I'm asking for your help. If you support the State of Saints podcast, if you want to donate, I'm asking you donate to the Rolling Fork Relief Fund that's being available right now. Thank you to all those that donated so far. And we want to make sure that we show people that, we care about their community and what they're actually going through. One of the people that I work with, my former coworker, Ms. Wanda earlier, she lost her life in a tornado working at Family Dollar. Unfortunately, a tornado came through, destroyed the building she was inside, along with another lady I work with, Ms. Lodi Johnson. Her daughter was inside as well. So, yeah, man, I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm hurting about that, man. I've been ripping and running all weekend long, try to not think about these situations, because Rolling Fork is a town with like maybe 1,800 people in, and me being there and managing that store, you develop a relationship with these people, and you know them on a personal level, and they know you, and see these people, hurting and in pain, like it really hurts me. And I'm about 13 hours away from there, but I still want to show some love. And I thought by, opening up this fund, it will give people opportunity as well as myself to be able to donate and give these people something to show that we actually care. So I'm just asking, like, I'm good on the donation. Thank y'all like so much. I really do appreciate like anybody that donates to this show, but I rather the donations going forward, right? If you just click that link and just put it there, like, I would really appreciate that. All right. So really do appreciate anybody, that donated so far. Once again, my thoughts and prayers go out to those individuals in Rolling Fork, Mississippi. And, let's continue to lift those people up. But thank y'all so much. Previous episodes available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM, also a part of Megaphone FM as well. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat? Hi, I'm TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast, and I ask that you like, share, and comment on this video. Thanks for watching. All I got to say is, who dat?